Let me start here, though. Hard to imagine how you would rebuild your life if the building blocks of your life were only just a couple of years. But that is what a Connecticut man is facing after being freed from captivity since the age of 11. 21 years of being locked in the attic and fed so little he weighed just 68 pounds. That man is now 32 years old, and he goes by the name of S. He chose that name himself. He says he's changed his name and he's starting a new life after just weeks ago setting that attic fire that was his ticket to freedom. You've probably heard the details of what happened, but now S is talking himself, making his first public statements since he was rescued by the first responders. His stepmother was in that fire too, and she also made it out alive. But ironically, she may end up locked away for many years herself after being charged with holding S in captivity behind locked doors since he was in 4th grade. Kimberly Sullivan has tonight pleaded not guilty. She is out on $300,000 bond, and her lawyer is going to be with me in just a hot minute with her side of the story. But the details that S himself has provided are nothing short of harrowing. He says he was kept on the verge of starvation, even drinking water from a toilet when the water was scarce. And speaking of the toilet, he says he was forced to urinate out of a tube that went through the 3rd-story window and was reduced to defecating in newspapers. I mentioned that S is finally speaking out, and that's because he's released a lengthy statement that I would like to read for you in its entirety tonight. So get comfy. Please call me S. This is not the name given to me by my parents when I was born. I am choosing a new name for myself, and I will use that name as I reclaim control over my life and my future. My name is my choice, and it is the first of many choices I will make for myself now that I am free. I am a survivor of more than 20 years of captivity and domestic abuse. I was held prisoner in my home from the time I was taken out of the 4th grade at age 11 until 2 months ago at age 31, when I purposely set that fire that helped set me free. I am speaking out today to begin the process of reclaiming my life and to have my say in how my story is told. I am much better and stronger than I was the day the first responders carried me out of my home. I am beyond grateful for the care that I have received since then. To all the healthcare professionals who have helped me and nurtured me, thank you. In addition to all of your care, I appreciated the chance to have my first ever birthday party to celebrate turning 32. I also want to thank the first responders, the law enforcement investigators, and everyone who is working to hold those responsible for my abuse accountable. Thank you to everyone at Safe Haven Waterbury and everyone who has given to the GoFundMe page that will help cover some of the overwhelming expenses I will face in the weeks and months and years to come. I am grateful to the conservator and my attorney who will help guide me through the legal process ahead. They have been invaluable to me, and I am grateful for their tireless support. Much has already been said that tells part of the story of the abuse I endured. Someday, perhaps, my whole story will be told. I ask everyone involved in my story to fully cooperate with the authorities who are helping me seek justice for these crimes. I also ask the public and the media to respect those investigations and my privacy as this process plays out. This isn't just a story, it's my life. Thank you all for your thoughts and messages, your support, and your continued prayers as I recover. Please forward any inquiries about my recovery, requests for information or interviews for the process ahead to David Guarino at Survivors Say, who has volunteered to serve as my spokesman. Thank you. That presents a very steep hill for Kimberly Sullivan, his stepmother, to climb, explaining the matted and filthy condition that first responders said they found him in, explaining the locks discovered by police on the outside of the attic door. Here are a few answers that Kimberly Sullivan's lawyer has provided so far.
Where are the handcuffs? Where are the chains? Where are the signs of restraint? Those pictures raise a lot of questions if you look at them objectively. And as far as his weight, I haven't seen any medical records yet. And there may be other explanations for his weight. Ask a doctor. That's not for me to explain. There could be a lot of reasons. And we may raise some more of those questions. But now's not the time for me to guess as to why he was 68 pounds.
Joining me now is the man that you just heard, Kimberly Sullivan's lawyer, Ioannis Kaloidis. Thank you so much for being on the program. I really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you for having me, Ashleigh. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, I do appreciate this is going to be a tough interview. This is a very painful subject, as you can imagine, and the public is outraged at the things that they've heard. Can I start with this, Ioannis? Has Kimberly Sullivan downloaded you on her entire side of the story?
So it's happening, but it's happening over time. We've met numerous times. We've gone over the allegations numerous times. We're reviewing all the discovery as we get it. So it is a work in progress, but I've had extensive conversations with her regarding these allegations.
So first and foremost, what is her response to the statement that has come from her stepson?
She is shocked that this continues to grow in magnitude. She is shocked that everyone has condemned her and automatically believed everything that has come out by the state and the allegations made by the police and by the accuser in this case. She's blown away.
Well, that's brief, and the statement was long and very, very detailed, and the things that her stepson has said to first responders were very detailed as well. Well, first and foremost, why would her stepson say these things about her?
Well, so, great question, and that's something he's going to have to answer, and that's something he's going to have to answer for under cross-examination at trial. We have a number of theories as to why he may be saying the things he's saying, and none of them because they're true.
What are they?
Well, I mean, that's what he's going to be cross-examined on. I mean, right now, no one's asking him the tough questions. And yeah, it was detailed. I respectfully disagree. What we don't have is any information as to how he was restrained in any way. All we're told is that
there are locks on the outside door. There's locks on the outside of the door up in the attic. That's restraint.
No, it's not. That is a lock on the outside of a door. Restraint is actually using physical force to restrain someone. From what I understand, he literally just walked into this room and she locked the door behind him, and that's what kept him captive for 20 years.
Well,
no
he's 68
physical force.
pounds, and since 11th grade, if you follow his story, he was 11 years old when he ended up in captivity, and the pressure, fear, and stress kept him in abeyance of their threats. This is what he has said, that he was locked behind those doors, the locks are visible, and that he was barely fed, which is why he's 68 pounds. Why is that hard to believe?
Why is it hard? Let's look at this objectively. Any parent who has ever raised a child and has told their child, go to your room, what child is going to stay in that room and not put up a fight ever? 21 years, no physical force, no physical restraint, nothing other than being told, get in your room, and then literally one of those chain locks, a $5 lock, is what kept them in captivity for 20 years.
Let's talk.
The story doesn't make sense.
Kaloidis, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a lawyer, but I am a parent, and I had two rambunctious boys. And I can tell you one thing, it is against the law to lock them inside of a room. It is against the law to have a lock on the outside of the room with your child on the inside of the room. That is just a fact. How do you explain these locks on the outside of the room where he says he was held for so many years?
There were exterior locks on almost every door inside that house, and those locks predated my client ever moving in the house. The existence of the lock, the presence of the lock, doesn't prove anything, is not illegal. They are going to need to convince a jury that those locks were actually used to restrain him in that room.
Understand that. How about the part where S says he overheard his stepmother telling two friends who were brought over before the fire responders arrived to, number one, clean up your face, wash the dirt off your face, and to the friends, help me get the locks off these doors?
Great. I mean, it's great that he's saying that because the evidence I've seen does not support that. The body camera footage does not support that. The person he claims was there to remove the locks was not even present when the first responder showed up. Couldn't even get to the house, never actually made it to the house.
How do you explain the conditions that we see? And granted, there was a fire, but I've also seen fire damage, and I can tell the difference between fire damage and severe neglect. How do you explain the conditions that he was living in up in that attic, especially the toileting facilities? I mean, there's going to be plenty of evidence, if it exists, there'll be plenty of evidence that urine had to go out a window, as did feces.
So respectfully, it was not actually an attic. It was on the second floor, and it was a room that...
He said third.
When you walk in the house, if you go straight up the stairs and to the left is where the room was. It was on the second floor. It was next to a bathroom and next to 2 other rooms. The condition of the room...
He said it was the third floor. He said it was the third floor. He was quite clear about that to the first responders.
He's wrong about that, as he's wrong about plenty of things, and all that will come out at trial. I've been inside the home. I've walked up 1 flight of stairs. I've inspected the room myself. There's a lot of problems with his story, and part of the problem is that everyone has accepted everything he has said as the truth, as the Bible, and it is not the truth, and we will push back on that.
So can I ask you this? Does Kimberly Sullivan, your client, have evidence to refute the things he said? And I'll list a few things off. He says he's never had a birthday party. I have so many photos of my children's birthday parties, I can't even find all of them. But I've got plenty of evidence to refute that if someone said it about me. Has she got photos of birthday parties for this child?
So respectfully, I think one of the problems we're having is everyone expects Kimberly Sullivan to prove her innocence. And the great thing about America is we don't have to do that. The state has to prove their case. They have a heavy burden here.
You want to prove it to a jury, though, Mr. Kaloidis. You know you're going to have to prove something to a jury. And if he says something you say is a lie, can't you show the evidence to show, here are the birthday parties? Does she have pictures of birthday parties for this boy?
We're not putting forward any pictures now. We have a number of pictures of this child throughout the years, and those will come out at the appropriate time. What I can tell you is his birthday was celebrated every year. There was cake.
With a photo?
There was presents. We don't need photos.
With a photo?
You don't have to take photos.
Well, if I were a juror, I'd say, yeah, show me, show me the money. You know, jurors want to see evidence of these things.
And that's, respectfully, that's the problem. Everyone wants to shift the burden onto the defense, and we're not going to let that happen. The burden rests on the state.
Well, Mr. Kaloidis, you know how this works. I said it's a tough hill to climb. I mean it. It is I have been to this rodeo before, and you do have to present some kind of a case if they've got a strong case against you, which is why I asked you if you have the photos. How about a doctor's record or dentist record? Do you have doctors and dentist records for his entire growing up?
We have 200 pages of DCF records that we just got this week, which show investigation unsubstantiated. There was concerns about his weight.
I'm sorry, that wasn't my question. I understand the DCFS. I was actually getting to that. That's question number 14.
There's medical records in there. That's why.
Doctors and dentist appointments. Do you have records of doctors and dentist appointments where this boy went regularly, as every boy should?
There is evidence that he went to the pediatrician through the age of at least 12. Those we have. Those are contained in the
12?
DCF records. They're referenced in the DCF records, okay?
What about after 12?
It's not her responsibility. She was not the parent. There was a father that was involved. The father called the shots. The father called the shots. We want to shift the burden onto her. She doesn't need to provide the records.
Did she throw the records out?
What records? She doesn't need to provide records. What I'm telling you is we have records. We have records that reflect this child was going to a doctor, and these records reflect issues with his weight as early as 4 years old, and he was cleared by doctors. We want to put everything on Kim Sullivan. The father raised this kid.
Do you have the names of... Okay, let's say the records. I'll give you that. Let's say the records were thrown out and it's not Kimberly Sullivan's responsibility to keep the records.
Correct.
Do you have the names of the doctors and dentists that this boy saw? And I'm going to put it to you to say age 12 is not good enough. After 4th grade.
What legal obligation does she have? She's not the custodial parent. She did not prevent him ever from going to a doctor. His father called the shots. And mind you, he's been an adult for 14 years now. So he's not a child. He's not her responsibility. Nonetheless,
but he weighs the same as a 10-year-old boy. How can you explain anything about a 68-pound man who was behind a locked door?
Here's the problem with the weight. The weight itself doesn't prove anything. The state still has to connect the dots. What they're claiming is his weight was this because she starved him. He's going to have to get on that stand and convince a jury that that is the cause and effect, that that's the relation. Because just saying, hey, he's 68 pounds, that doesn't mean anything. Has anyone ever considered other reasons for his weight? He was underweight at 4 years old. He was underweight at 8 years old. He was underweight at 12 years old. And at each point, DCF was involved, the doctors were involved, and they were cleared. And my client and her husband were cleared of any neglect. This has been we've gone over this, and they've been cleared.
Well,
these
again,
are not new.
These are the things that a jury is going to have to decide, as you and I both know. It's the way it's done. A prosecutor will lay out a very profound case, and you will have to, like I said, you don't have to mount a defense, but in this circumstance, I certainly would.
No, there will be a defense, but my point is, we can't just accept that this is a done deal. This is far from a done deal. And they can prepare any statement they want, and the people around him can make everyone feel good and sound good about reclaiming stuff. At the end of the day, he needs to get on that stand and convince a jury. And we're confident that if we have a fair and impartial jury, and if we have people that look at this objectively and don't just accept everything that's been fed to them by the police and by this accuser, we are confident that my client will be vindicated. She is adamant she has done nothing wrong.
Everyone deserves a fair defense, and I think you're doing a great job of it, and I really appreciate you coming on the show, because not a lot of attorneys do, especially early in the case, so thank you for this. I hope we can continue our conversations.
Absolutely, anytime.
Ioannis Kaloidis joining us, hopefully not for the last time. I do appreciate that, sir.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your screen. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.